Do you know what really pees me off is people investing in property and they don't even know how good they've got it. This video is all about how to accurately measure your return on investment. So there are a few different ways of making money in property, and if you put in the comments right now, what is the #1 way that people measure it? Cash flow. If you didn't put it down, you cheated. Cash flow is the obvious one. Yes, okay, so I've got a property, I rent it out, and I get some cash in, happy days, right? And people, if you think that's the only way you make property, then it would be pretty useless investing in property right now. But let's think about why people think that. Well, I think a lot of people have started investing more and more into property because, well, #1, it is hands down the safest way of investing in the world. Not financial advice, just a personal opinion, but fairly backed up with 1,000 years of evidence. But also because of property trainers. Now, I'm not slagging them off. I've got an education company as well where people invest in my programs. But the reason why it kind of annoys me is people go, get financially free through property. Cash flow is going to help you quit your job in 30 days with buy-to-let property. It's like, fuck off. That's just not how it works, all right? Now, the thing is, cash flow is cool. I like cash flow. But what if I told you that recently I've been investing in property with negative cash flow? So I am buying property and paying money to have it. What, you fucking idiot? Well, no, because I don't have a cash flow problem. I've got a wealth building problem, and more than likely so do you. Let's face it, if you are my typical kick-ass subscriber, then you're probably sat there with a little bit of money, but maybe not a multi-millionaire. Okay, so maybe you've managed to build up a pot of 50, 100, 200,000. And first of all, that's incredible. And if you are one of those at the beginning of your journey where maybe you've got 3, 4, 5,000, great, amazing. You're well on your way to property success, but you don't have a cash flow problem. If you've got 100, 150 grand, you don't have a cash flow problem. Otherwise you wouldn't have been able to save that money. Now, caveat, if you inherited that money or something else, then cool. But if you've built that up over time, then you clearly are in a cash positive situation, else you wouldn't have the savings, right? So then why do people get obsessed with the cash flow? Well, because we're taught that that's how we make money through property. Well, Jamie, great. How do we actually make money elsewhere then? Well, first of all, you've got rental growth, which is supply versus demand, and it puts pressure on it, especially right now, by the way. Rental growth is insane. Then, of course, you've got capital appreciation, which works out as about 75 to 80% of your wealth. Did you know that? And then the final one is leverage. Now, people don't really think of leverage, but actually it's the sexiest of all returns because we don't pay tax. And I love paying tax. I really do. I hate it. And the less I can pay, the better. That felt a bit flirty and pervy. Winking at that. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's getting hot in here. So I like leverage. And actually in investment, this is called the IRR, internal rate of return. I have dubbed it combined returns. And when we look at combined returns, it will blow your mind how little cash flow works. And by the way, if you're looking for a calculator out there that is free, that is the only one I've ever found actually, then LENDLORD is going to be great for you. At the time of filming this, they're completely free. Now, there are some premium features on there, but they don't make their money like that. It makes it by giving you lending. If you want access to this, as I said, at the time of filming, so make sure you're getting it now. I'll put a link in the comments, pin it to the top, or I'll put a link in the description. Set up your account and head over to the buy-to-let analyzer where this will absolutely blow your mind. In fact, let me show you an example of a real property and how it actually makes its money. And you'd be shocked at how little of an impact the cash flow makes a difference. Let's jump in. Okay, so we are on LENDLORD right now, and LENDLORD is an end-to-end software. So it covers absolutely everything, as you can see, investing, managing, and financing of properties. And they're adding more and more stuff in, and a majority of it is completely free. So make sure you use the link in the YouTube video and get access now. So what we do is go on Invest. And as you can see on the left-hand side, there's deal analyzers. Now, at the moment, they have two very, very comprehensive rental and flip analyzers. So we're going to click on rental. And then if we go for LS42JU, in fact, we can type it in here, LS42JU. add and place. Here we go. We'll go for number 2. For those that don't know where that is the first ever property that I lived in Leeds. So in this property, we're going to sort of look at generic numbers, but these are fairly accurate to what we're working to right now. Okay. 130,000. Let's say the property value is also 130,000. We're going to end up having probably rental on that one of about 750, maybe 775, but let's say 750. Refurbishment, let's say it's going to need $5,000 worth of works, because we're going to end up having those additional costings. Whenever you buy a property, there's always going to be something, isn't there? Sometimes you do get it where there's nothing coming in, but that's what we're looking at. Closing costs on this, well, we've got the stamp duty. Closing costs are going to cost things like your solicitor, your maybe your survey if you're getting finance, your broker fee, things like that. All in all, you're going to be about, let's put 1750, but it does range, of course, piece by piece. Now, what we're going to be looking at is a 75% loan to value on this property. So what you're going to be looking at is getting a loan. In case you're new to this, a buy-to-let mortgage, the most typical loan to value on these properties is 75% loan to value. And a pretty typical mortgage term is going to be 25 years. So again, we're looking on this left-hand side here. Okay. Now, by the way, on the refurbishment, if you want to really break it down, you can click on the works plan or enhanced work plan here, and it will end up going up. You can also get estimations as you're going through as well. But let's stick to the basics right now. So this is really about showing you how interest doesn't really matter that much. So your mortgage fee, we're going to put that as lower because most aren't going to come with huge mortgage fees. And let's put the mortgage rate right now at 6.5%. Okay, it's probably a little bit heavy, and it is very likely to be coming down. So we're going to have management fees over here as well. It's a freehold property, so what that means is we own the land underneath, so there's no service charge or ground rent. And then there's going to be some maintenance, utilities and that. But in general, we're going to be looking at £15 there, and we'll keep it at 0 for maintenance because it's a newly touched up property. So this is where I think it gets quite interesting. So just to go through it again, we've got the purchase details. We've got the finance details down here. We've got operating expenses here, which is really important because obviously you've got the mortgage payments, which is pretty high there, and then agent fees here, and then landlords, etc. So what we're looking at is on the short term, you can see it's making £94 a month. So this is the cash flow metric. So we're looking at this left box here, and then I'll explain the one on the right, which is a lot more important. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the long-term ROI over here, and we've got pretty basic suggestions over here, I would say, in terms of, let's put rental appreciation out of the mix as well. So you've got annual property appreciation at 6%. So that's pretty conservative. The long-term average is 7.9%. So what I want you focusing on is this 239%. But if we've got £94 a month, you might go, well, that's not a great investment, is it? Well, that's not strictly true. Okay, it's cash flow positive, which is brilliant, especially with interest rates so high. But let's have a look here. So 239%. But if we go here and we go, actually, interest rates are now 7.5%. Well, now we're only making £5. But actually, the long-term ROI, i.e. the 10-year ROI, is now 214%. So it's still 214%. So it only got impacted that little amount. But then again, if we go to the other side, let's go back to what the interest rates were about a year ago, and we go to about, say, 3.6%. We're now making £300 a month, right? £320 a month. So yes, it makes a huge difference to the cash flow, but how much difference does it actually make to your long-term investment? Well, it doesn't. It does impact it, but look, it's only 305%. Now, that's a huge return, as you know. But the point is, even if, let's try and get to 0 over here, which might be let's go to 8 and see where we are. Might be a negative there, though. Okay, negative 27. So let's say we went up to 7.8. There you go, 7.6%. We're making £5. So yeah, 7.6%. So at 7.6% interest, we're not doing it. We're not making money, right? Now, this may shock you. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video. I actually buy properties that's in negative cash flow right now. And the reason why is because of the long-term assumption of capital growth. Now, is capital growth guaranteed? No. Is getting your rent guaranteed? No. But over the long term, there's never been a 10-year period where property prices have gone down. And over the last 1,000 years of evidence, it's averaged 7.9% a year. So you might have heard the average property goes up and doubles every 10 years. That's not every area. Obviously, you need to do your searching and get your analysis right. But let's look here in some areas, because if you've got a rubbish area, so let's say there are, not that the Northeast is terrible, but there's a lot of people buying really rubbish properties in the Northeast I've seen that have long-term appreciation of 3%. Just check that out. See how that went from 200 and something percent to 80% 10-year return. Crazy, right? Whereas my areas are on the other extreme, where we're actually getting closer to 10% capital growth, but I'm paying like 50 quid a month for it. I'm in negative cash flow, 456%. But let's say a realistic scenario is at that 6%. Now, is that going to happen every year? No. So please don't go, that's going to happen every year. No, it's not. It's going to be over the long term, which is proven for almost 1,000 years now. See how much it helps with 1% over here. So 1% goes from 214% up here to 268%. So that 1% difference just made it go from 214 to 268. That is a 56% interest over that time. Now let's go with your normal mortgage fees. Let's go back down to 6.5%. And by the way, it's fluctuating right now, but it will come back down. And let's go to 6% over here. So you might be thinking, well, is this the deal of the century making £94? No, but who cares? When you look at a 10-year period, if you divide that long-term ROI, okay, the 239%, and this is where capital growth compounds over time, as does the rent coming in. This isn't even factoring rental increases, though, by the way. That is, if you divide that by 10, going to be a 23.9%, 0.83% return every single year. Now, obviously, that's over the long term. And I think if there's one lesson coming out of this, it's short-term issues in the economy just do not matter. Okay, now, obviously, you need to factor it in and protect yourself and things like that, factor in the higher interest rates. But if you're somebody that's terrified about interest rates and rents getting suffered, just don't. Okay, think of the long term. If in doubt, zoom out, and you need to focus on what I call the combined returns, which is this number here, internal rate of return, 13.79%, and then the compounded return, which is when money grows on money, of 10 years of 240%. If you went to the average punter and said, I can get you 23.9% return, what would their reaction be? Let's jump into the video. So that should really show you just how powerful capital appreciation is. When you apply leverage to the situation, it is maximized. If I had to put this into a calculation, it'd be like cash flow plus rental growth times leverage times capital growth. Now, everyone thinks it's all about the cash flow portion, which is the biggest taxable portion of owning a property and only makes about 20% of the income. But capital growth and leverage is 75 to 80%, and it's tax-free. And that's what I really love about it. Tax-free money in property that you can invest and grow again and again and again. And that is what the world's millionaires and billionaires do. Now, if you're like me, you want to be a multimillionaire, and I want to help you on that journey. So make sure to get that link. Download it. As I said, it's completely free right now. Lendlord, I absolutely love them. They're the sponsor of this video, by the way. I'm so grateful for everything they've done for the channel and the growth. And hopefully in fact, I know when I've mentioned this before, they add so much value to you. Talking about value, if you did get any from today's video, it would help me tremendously if you lightly tap that like button. And if you're not subscribed already, what you doing? If you made it this far, clearly you got some value. I really hope I have. And if you want any future videos, make sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell and let me know in the comments what sort of videos would add the most value to you. If you did get a load of value, share it with somebody else that you think would too.